Welcome to Transforming the Toddler Years, the podcast for conscious parents, caregivers, and educators who believe tantrums aren't terrible. They are powerful opportunities for connection, growth, and learning during the first 5 years. You'll explore how to use intentional language to raise calm, confident, and deeply connected kids, because the way we talk to kids becomes how they see themselves and engage with the world. Hi, I'm your host, Cara Tyrrell, classroom teacher turned parent educator and teacher trainer. Are you ready to nurture your children's mind, body, and spirit? Welcome, Toddler Tribe. Let's transform the toddler years together. Welcome back, Toddler Tribe. So excited to navigate the month of October with you, because here is what we're going to do. It's been a while since I've grounded into the methodology that has led to all of these conversations we've had on the show for the last 2.5 years. So I want to bring us all the way back to the beginning. And I've talked a lot about conscious parenting, and I'm sure conscious discipline is something that you're familiar with. You've heard it, maybe you practice it. And so I'm going to take us to the next level. Are you ready? We are going to talk about the 4 C's of collaborative discipline. And this works in your home as parents. This works in your classrooms as teachers, and it works in your childcare settings where you are an extension of the nuclear family, because these kids look at you and they connect with you as surrogates to their family while they are away and in your care. So excited to really break this down for you. So today I just want to start with an overview episode. I'm going to give you the methodology and the 4 C's. And of course, I'm going to do it through storytelling. And because this can be a lot to process when we're thinking about infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, the example today that I'm going to tell you is with a 6-year-old. Because it's a little easier to really think about it when we think about doing things like collaborating or communicating, or I'm giving you all of them. Are you catching them? Or compromising with a 6-year-old than it is with a 1-year-old. But I promise you that by the end of this series, you are going to realize you can do all these things at all the ages. All right, so let's dive in. So the 4 C's of collaborative discipline, and let me just tell you, I'm not a huge fan of the word discipline, although I understand from a linguist's perspective how essential it is when we think about working with kids. Because think about discipline as being the positive side of the word. Every word has a negative connotation and a positive connotation when we implement them properly. And typically, the negative connotations come from emotion. When we overlay our human emotions is when we get this idea of discipline being something challenging, and it's going to have to be negative, and hopefully it doesn't erode our connection. But think about you as an adult. I'll give you a great example with me. When I sit down to plan out podcast episodes, when I think about putting together a new professional development seminar for teachers, it takes discipline, which means what? It takes intention. It takes vision setting. It takes dedication. And it takes kind of that, I'm going to show up and do it even when I don't feel like it. Wow, right? 2 very different definitions or applications of the word discipline. And so I'm going to challenge you as I talk about my collaborative discipline model to detach from the idea that it's always in response to something negative. Okay. With that in mind, a wonderful little personality named Davy has appeared many, many, many times on this show. When he was young, I had the privilege to call myself Nanny Cara and take care of him and help develop his brain and his body and his heart and his spirit from tinyhood. And he's now 6.5. So recently, I got to spend the day with him and his sister, although she's not part of this story today. And first thing in the morning. Okay, so it was like a 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. day. And we were just so excited to see each other again. First thing in the morning, he says to me, like 7:30 in the morning, I'm going to go outside and ride my dirt bike. And I went, whoa, on so many levels. First of all, he's great at riding his dirt bike. I know he's capable of it, but as the caregiver for the day, I was not real kinky about him going out and doing that. First of all, first thing in the morning, it's all wet out, that type of stuff. Secondly, it mattered to me, right? Your deep why when you respond or react to a child is where you choose the direction you're headed, the decision you're making, and the ensuing conversation and the boundaries and all the things that are going to come next. And my deep why has always been when there's something I'm not confident in, I'm not familiar in understanding how to work with, like dirt bikes, not my zone of genius, friends. I do not love allowing that to happen without a parent present. That's it. It's a safety thing for me, and it always comes back to it's my job to keep you safe. He's heard that from me his whole life, usually like this. It's my job to keep you safe. Use it. It works. And so I took a deep breath as he's literally bolting towards the door, because that's what this kid does. He's a mover and a shaker. And he had made a decision. Notice he didn't ask me. He told me, I am going outside to ride my dirt bike. And in response, I said, yes, but not yet. 4 little words. Yes, but not yet. Did you hear the no? Because I didn't say it. I really believe, like the whole core of me, that there's always a way to avoid saying no. And that when you do say no, as your first reaction or your first response, because maybe you intended to say it, you close all the doors to communication. You close all the doors to collaboration. And you close all the doors to compromise. All right, so let's back up for a minute. Remember, we have time. We have time to get through this. It's going to be okay. I really want this to settle in with you. So if you haven't caught it yet, here are the 4 C's in order. 1, connection. You must connect deeply, emotionally, relationally with a child, or they will not attend to you. They will not give you their attention. And if you don't have their attention, you can't go any further. They are not open vessels at that point. Connection is the key. It's relationship building 101. And I've told you about 1,012 times, and I'll say it probably that many more. It begins in tinyhood. We're going to explore that. Step 2 is communication. That's your words. I thought very clearly about my words, didn't I? I could have spouted sentence after sentence after sentence, would have fallen on deaf ears. But because I kept it super short, and did you catch it? I led with yes. Yes, but not now. He stayed open, not happy about, don't misinterpret me, but he stayed open to hearing what I had to say next. Next came a collaboration, conversation, and finally a compromise. So, how is this landing so far? If you're sitting here thinking, whew, that sounds like a lot of work, I'm not going to lie to you. It is work. But you know what? All relationships are work. You work at your relationship with yourself, which is why you're here, because you identify as a conscious parent. That means the consciousness is coming from inside you, that you're willing to think differently, you're willing to speak differently, you're willing to engage differently, and you're willing to try new strategies that historically are ones either you never have been exposed to, thought of, or the generation previous to you who raised you would scoff at. Okay, right? So ultimately, what happened, and I'm going to go through this step by step in our 4 episodes that come after this. The first is going to be all about connection. The second is going to be all about communication. The third is going to be all about collaboration. And the fourth, all about compromise. But in this overview episode, what I want you to know is that through all of those intentional steps, we were able to have a collaborative conversation where he heard me say, I don't feel comfortable with this. Consciously, me, I don't feel comfortable with this. I know you are capable of it. But I am laying a boundary here because I don't feel comfortable with this. To be able to hear that from an adult, he wasn't thrilled, but he heard me and he believed my words. And he knew from years of us doing this over and over and over that if he took action without my approval, it would be problematic because I'm someone who follows through on what I say. And that last piece, so special. This idea of compromise, which defined at its root is some of what I want and some of what you want. And that's why I led with yes. I want kids to know, and I wanted him to know specifically, that the eventual outcome would meet his desire. But that learning to wait for that outcome is essential when a grown-up asks you to. And at the end of the day, when Dad had returned home, and he was there because he does understand the machine, and he is ultimately the person who is responsible for the safety of his child, I watched him. I watched him go fast. I watched him do jumps. He asked me to document it and take a video, and I did. And it was such a celebration moment. And then when he came and stopped in front of me, this is what I said to him. It was really hard to wait until the end of the day to ride your dirt bike, wasn't it? Yeah, he said. Does it feel really fun right now? Yeah, he said. Sometimes waiting is the most important part. And he heard me. And that lesson is something that we have to practice over and over and over. If we are instantly gratifying children every time they want something, every time they ask for an experience or an item, we are not doing them any favors. So as we wrap up this overview episode of the 4 C's of collaborative discipline, Collaborative connection. Oh, it just feels better. But yes, this is a discipline because we are attending ourselves to it. We are being intentional and we're asking them to join us there as well and team up with us. So as we wrap this up, as you sit and I hope that you're just going to think about it for the rest of the day or the evening, whenever you listen to this, and let it marinate in you. And if you want to know more about how important it is to teach kids the art of delayed gratification and waiting, which is one of the skill sets that we're going to talk about as we go through this series, then I have a very early episode in the show when we first launched. And that series is the 5 essential skills that kids need to develop. They're executive functioning skills for success in school, in life. And there's one all about waiting. So we'll drop that link in the show notes if you want to do a little extra listening that really ties in. But until our next episode, here's what I'd love you to do. Grab the free PDF of the 4 C's so that you can see the model and how each step feeds the next. So get the free download, the 4 C's of collaborative discipline, and start noticing opportunities when you're interacting with your kids, with your students, with the littles in your life, that you could use it. I don't expect you to go any further than that right now because you just have an overview. But I do hope that you come on back next week so that we can continue diving deep into this model and helping you begin to develop a relationship with your kids that allows for every step of this to be successful. And then power struggles will just disappear. Until our next episode, you know what to do. Stay mindful and proactive as we transform the toddler years.